Padlocking circuit breaker panels located in hotel hallways is a matter of accessibility and safety. Electrical codes prioritize providing ready access to electrical equipment. The National Electrical Code, or NEC, addresses the requirements for access and working space around electrical equipment. These requirements are in place to ensure that qualified personnel can safely operate and maintain the equipment. The NEC states that access and working space must be provided and maintained around all electrical equipment to permit ready and safe operation and maintenance of such equipment. The general rule is that the working space in front of electrical equipment operating at 600 volts or less to ground must be at least 3 feet deep, 3 feet wide, and 6 feet 6 inches high. The NEC doesn't explicitly prohibit padlocking circuit breaker panels, however, the critical consideration revolves around maintaining ready access. If padlocking the panel restricts access for qualified personnel to perform necessary operations or maintenance, it would violate the code. Consider scenarios such as electrical faults or emergency situations. In these situations, quick access to the circuit breaker panel may be essential to de-energize circuits and mitigate hazards. If the panel is padlocked, it could delay the response and increase the risk of electrical shock or fire. The accessibility of the panel is also important for routine maintenance and testing. Electrical systems require periodic inspections and maintenance to ensure their safe and reliable operation. If the panel is padlocked, it could hinder these activities and increase the likelihood of electrical problems. If padlocking is implemented, there must be a system in place to ensure that qualified personnel can promptly access the panel. Firstly, consider providing a lockbox near the panel that contains the key. Secondly, ensure that the key is readily available to authorized personnel such as maintenance staff and electricians. Thirdly, proper documentation is essential. Maintain records of who has access to the key and the procedures for accessing the panel. Fourthly, clearly label the panel with instructions on how to obtain the key in case of an emergency. Fifthly, ensure that all relevant personnel are trained on the procedures for accessing the panel and understand the importance of maintaining electrical safety. If the hotel or motel employs a building management system, integrate the access control for the circuit breaker panel into the system. This can allow for a remote unlocking of the panel in case of an emergency. The Americans with Disabilities Act, or ADA, requires that buildings be accessible to individuals with disabilities. This includes ensuring that electrical equipment is accessible to qualified personnel with disabilities. If the padlock requires excessive force or dexterity to operate, it could violate the ADA. Furthermore, consider using a padlock that can be easily opened with a universal key or tool. This can simplify access for qualified personnel and reduce the risk of delays in emergency situations. Regularly inspect the padlocks and locking mechanisms to ensure that they are in good working order. Replace any damaged or malfunctioning padlocks promptly. Perform routine inspections of the circuit breaker panels to identify any potential electrical hazards. Address any issues promptly to maintain a safe electrical system. It is important to consult with local authorities and electrical inspectors to determine if there are any specific requirements or restrictions regarding padlocking circuit breaker panels in hotel hallways. Local codes may have additional regulations that must be followed. The interpretation of electrical codes can vary, so it is always best to seek guidance from qualified professionals. They can provide specific advice based on your local regulations and the specific circumstances of your property. If padlocking the panel is deemed permissible, implement a comprehensive safety plan that addresses the potential risks and ensures that qualified personnel can safely access the panel. The safety plan should include procedures for de-energizing circuits, using personal protective equipment, and responding to electrical emergencies. Qualified personnel working on electrical equipment must be trained in electrical safety and familiar with the procedures for working on energized circuits. Ensure that they have the necessary tools and equipment to perform their work safely. Regularly review and update the safety plan to reflect any changes in the electrical system or relevant regulations. Communicate any changes to all relevant personnel. In addition to the NEC and NADA, other regulations may apply, such as the National Fire Protection Association, or NFPA 70E, which addresses electrical safety in the workplace. Ensure that your practices are compliant with all applicable regulations. Consider installing remote monitoring systems that can provide real-time data on the status of the electrical system. This can help detect potential problems early and prevent electrical emergencies. Consider installing arc fault circuit interrupters, or RFCIs, and ground fault circuit interrupters, or GFCIs, to provide additional protection against electrical shock and fire hazards. These devices can detect electrical faults and interrupt the circuit quickly, reducing the risk of injury or damage. Maintain accurate and up-to-date electrical drawings and documentation. This can help qualified personnel quickly locate and identify electrical equipment in case of an emergency. Ensure that all electrical equipment is properly labeled and identified. This can help prevent confusion and reduce the risk of electrical accidents. Develop and implement a lockout/tagout program to prevent accidental energization of electrical equipment during maintenance or repair. Train all relevant personnel on the procedures for lockout/tagout. Regularly test the circuit breakers to ensure that they are functioning properly. Replace any faulty circuit breakers promptly. Consider using a master key system that allows authorized personnel to access all circuit breaker panels in the hotel or motel. This can simplify access and reduce the risk of delays in emergency situations. Ensure that all electrical work is performed by qualified electricians who are licensed and insured. Verify the credentials of any electrician before hiring them to perform electrical work. Keep a record of all electrical work performed on the property. This can help track the history of the electrical system and identify any potential problems. Consider using energy-efficient lighting and appliances to reduce energy consumption and lower utility bills. Install surge protection devices to protect electronic equipment from power surges. Educate guests about electrical safety and the proper use of electrical appliances. Provide information on how to report electrical problems or emergencies. Regularly inspect the electrical system for signs of damage or wear. Address any issues promptly to prevent electrical hazards. Consider using a thermal imaging camera to detect hot spots in the electrical system. This can help identify potential problems before they become serious. Ensure that all electrical equipment is properly grounded. This can help prevent electrical shock and reduce the risk of electrical fires. Consider installing a backup generator to provide power in case of a power outage. This can help ensure that essential services, such as lighting and fire alarm systems, continue to function during an emergency. Develop and implement an emergency response plan for electrical emergencies. Train all relevant personnel on the procedures for responding to electrical emergencies. Regularly practice the emergency response plan to ensure that it is effective. Maintain a supply of spare electrical parts and equipment on hand to facilitate repairs. This can help minimize downtime and prevent disruptions to service. Consider using a computerized maintenance management system, or CMMS, to track and manage electrical maintenance activities. This can help improve efficiency and prevent electrical problems. By implementing these measures, you can help ensure the safety and reliability of the electrical system and prevent electrical accidents. Remember that electrical safety is everyone's responsibility.